I'm Gracie. Some of you might know me as Making Useless Things on Tumblr or Instagram. This is my podcast about knitting, sewing, and other things that I'm interested in or creating. This is only the second episode, so bear with me. I'm still getting used to being comfortable in front of the camera and talking to myself and seeing myself. And today, my husband is in the other room, so that makes me a little nervous. Having somebody overhear you wasn't as easy as the first time, where I was just chilled and felt great. Anyways, welcome. I hope you're all doing really well. So far, my life has been insane and crazy and very busy, but all in good ways, in a good way. I'm tired, pretty pooped out, but it's been good. I have my notes here. I wrote them down very beautifully, so it just helps me when my notes are super crisp. I feel really good about myself. I just feel very focused. Anyways, well, I introduced myself. Hello, welcome back, etc. Thank you all for the response to the first episode was really encouraging, so thank you so much. I really thought that I was just gonna, I just didn't expect that. I thought I was just gonna fly under the radar, but some of you just offered some really kind comments, and really encouraged me to do another episode. And I also had a lot of fun. I had a great time. Okay, so shh. I'm so embarrassed to be doing this, but I'm also so happy. Which, whatever. Okay. So a little update on life really quick, although you guys don't really know me. You can watch the first 5 minutes of the other episode and hear my story. And don't worry, ask questions if you want to know more about me. If you don't and you just want to see the stuff that I make, that's great too, because that's really what I'm here for. So anyways, this past week I did go down to Asheville, North Carolina. I'm from Columbus, Ohio right now. So I went down to Asheville, North Carolina to visit my brother and his wife and his 2 kids. And it was amazing and it was super great. We had a really good time. But I also got to go to a couple yarn stores, and that was just, it's always the best. I love going to local yarn stores. I hate the damage it does to my wallet. But I try to be very conscious about what I'm getting and making sure that it's it's going to be useful and it's not just a splurge buy because I'm on vacation and I can get whatever I want. So I'll be sharing that at the end of this episode, but also shout out to everybody who's from Asheville, North Carolina. You guys live in a really beautiful place. So, and shout out to my wonderful hosts. My family is amazing and great, and your guys' house is beautiful, and your kids are great, and I love you guys. Okay, bye. I also, hey, this is Ed, if you want to meet him. He's a cranky little guy. He hates to be held. So I love to pick him up because it drives him crazy. So, okay. Go do your thing. He's gonna go sleep. His box is right there. Shh, I'm filming. I have 2 cats. That's Ed. Ein is outside, because otherwise he's just gonna sleep in my lap and it's gonna be annoying. Anyways, another little thing that just happened is I just started my second job, which is super exciting, and it's a floristry position at a wedding venue up kind of north of Columbus, and it's really exciting. It's super fun. It's an opportunity to be creative and artistic and to learn a whole new skill because my experience with floristry is pretty small. I've landscaped on and off for about 8 years, and then I've just always loved plants and flowers, and yeah, my family has been kind of in the business for a little bit, my cousins, and so I know some floristry from them, but anyways, that's really cool, and I'm super excited about that, but I've been super busy because I've been working 2 jobs, and I went on vacation, and now I'm just getting back and getting down to everything. So those are like updating things, and then I would like to talk a little bit about this podcast. So like I said, I had a pretty good response from it, and so I'm going to start trying to do, I think right now, like an episode a month. So this is the March podcast. We'll see if I have time for more. I don't really think so. I don't think I can make enough like new stuff to share. I'm pretty like slow when it comes to things. Like Christmas, that's when I made like the bulk of my stuff. I was like finishing a project every week. Now I'm down to like, it takes me like a month to knit a pair of socks. So we're just gonna see where it goes. And who knows, maybe this one doesn't work out. You never know. Okay, on to the most exciting stuff. If you can't tell, we're gonna talk about my finished objects. So you can tell two of the big things that I just finished. I guess I'll talk about this first because then I'll take it off. So this is my crossback apron by Purl Soho. I'll kind of stand up. So it's just a little, I'm wearing shorts, a little crossback apron. I put a snap in there. It's got these great deep pockets that go like all the way down. I've been wearing it a lot more than I thought I would. I love this thing. I love aprons. It's super comfortable. It's cotton. It's cute. It's kind of silly. It's got whales on it. It was a really fun and like easy pattern to follow because everything is just straight stitches. It's straight lines, straight cutting. So I had a great time making it. And now I can take it off to show you the next thing I finished, which is my Sunset Highway, if you couldn't already tell. I'm reading things. So this is the Sunset Highway pattern by Caitlin Hunter. I showed this sweater the last time I was podcasting, and I actually cast off when I podcast the last time, but now it is blocked and it's beautiful. You can see the details on the shoulders. So while I was making this, I was a little bit nervous that it was going to be the wrong size. I really struggled with gauge. So I kind of went off of her measurements of like the finished object, or like her finished object measurements. And then I picked my size. So I knit a small, which I am not a small. Yeah, or an extra small. I knit an extra small or a small. Now I can't remember. But I knit something that was not my normal size, and it fits really well. So this had so much give to it. It has a lot of positive ease. I think I'd say the only thing is I might go back and make the sleeves a little bit longer, but that's just kind of part of the shoulders, the way the yoke is made. Like, so they're the right length, but anytime you bring your arm up, it just automatically pulls down. So I like the length, especially since it's spring. I'm like, it's kind of like quarter length sleeves, so it doesn't bother me. But if I'm gonna wear it like next winter, I might pull some of the stuff out of my stash and just like quickly knit some longer sleeves. And that's the beauty of knitting, is you can change it whenever you want. So let me show you the back and the bottom. Super cute. I love it. 10 out of 10. Definitely going to reknit this at some point. It's so fun. You get to play with all these color combinations. It's really, really comfortable because it's loose fitting, so you don't feel like you're like cramming yourself into it. It's warm. It's loving. I love it. Just gonna pull out my notebook because I can tell you what yarn I used. Because I have my pattern notebook, project notebook. So I used Madeline Tosh yarn in BFL Light, and the colorways are, the blue is Spectrum, and that actually might not be BFL Light. I think that's Merino Light. I can't remember. Sorry. The dark green is Lock, which is this part on the sleeve right here. Lock. Fate is this dark brown that I have here. And then Fragile is the color on the body. So highly suggest if you're interested in doing a sweater pattern, this is a beautiful piece to do. So very proud of myself. I take forever to knit garments, so getting one finished is always like, yes! And then I finished one other thing, which I shared in my last podcast, but it is now finished, and it is the Rift Cowl by Emily Greene from the Leigh magazine. I think it's issue 4 that I have. Yeah, from issue number 4. This thing is great, but if you can notice here, I ran out of yarn, so this is Cascade's Eco Wool in like a gray color. I don't know if they have names for their colors or if they're just numbers. And then this is something that I got at a local yarn store here. I don't know, I just had it in my basket and it was the right weight and it looked really good as a contrast color against this. And then I still ran out of that. And then I finished it off with this fun variegated stuff that I got from the thrift store. So, or not variegated, this like twisted stuff. But this is very, very itchy, so you don't really want that against your neck. You're probably gonna like break out or something. So I usually flip it around and put it all on the bottom, and then it's not touching, it's actually like not touching any of your skin. So it worked out and it looks kind of cool. So always play yarn chicken and always use scraps, because you're never gonna know what kind of weird piece you're gonna end up making. So great finished object. I think for a cowl it's just very unique and it's a lot of fun. Hello hair. And I mentioned in the last podcast that I did twisted stitches rather than cabled stitches. So on the reverse side you get garter and like ribbed, so it's not a reverse pattern, but it still creates the same shape. So it's just a little bit different, a little unique, a little bit my own, which is the best thing you can ever hope for. So that is all that I have finished this week, or this month is what I should say. So I am currently working on just a couple projects, not really anything super exciting. I am working on my own pattern. So I started making a shawl that is my own design. And it's fun to get to mess around and play with your own thing. So still, my cast on beginning is not as perfect as I wanted it to be, but I cast it on and restarted this like 4 or 5 times. So I was just like, I'll just sew it together. It's gonna be fine. But it has this pretty little lace detail down the center, very, very simple. And it's just gonna be a triangle shawl. And then the edging is just the same little detail. And then this is seed stitch in the middle, because I had completely different plans for this yarn. So this is a sparkle sock yarn by a local dyer. I wrote it down. It's called Cornbread and Honey. I think she's from Painesville, Ohio. I can't remember now. She's from somewhere in Ohio, like near my hometown. And this colorway is called Tiny Sparkles. So very cute, very beautiful. But since it's like a high twist, it makes the best feeling seed stitch. It's just like, oh, this texture is just so great. I love it. So it's just really relaxing and fun to knit. It's very easy. Very straightforward pattern. You just do your increases right at the edge. And in the middle, super fun. I like it. So I'm calling it the Sun Summoner, and you'll understand that a little bit. If you already do, I'm sure you're having a good old laugh. So we'll get back to that. Then my second work in progress is a pair of socks, because what else do you do when you're on vacation? You knit a pair of socks. I'm not quite finished with it. They're going to be little ankle socks, so I have my marker for where to put in my heel, and I just pulled it out. Don't worry, I'll put it right back in there. Where's my needle? I got you. Warning, technical difficulties. Okay, I got my marker for my heel. They're going to be little ankle socks. This is my own pattern. I call it sister socks. And I typically do like longer ones, but whatever. So the second pair is always the reverse colors. So I have the toe being the other color, and I am using, how is there a piece of cat food in my knitting bag? I hope you find it's funny. Okay, anyways, I am using this last tiny little bit of Stroll by Knit Picks, and I think this is the Dove Heather colorway. I've just like always had this in my stash, so I've used it in a lot of different socks, and I usually always use it for my sister socks because it goes really well with any contrasting like darker color. So this is, I got my thing here, I think this is Patons. I don't know how you pronounce it actually. I think everyone says Patons. Croy Socks FX in camo colors, I think is what it's called. I don't know, I got it at Michael's. It's super great. Great sock yarn, man. It's soft, it's fun, I think it's washable. I like it. Also, you get this great variegation of colors. It's twisted with other colors. You're not going to be able to see it. Whatever. So, I was making a great pair of socks. So these are going to be a gift for my sister-in-law because she's always like, you never knit me socks. And I've been knitting socks for how many years? And she's been part of the family for how many years? So she's going to get a pair of the sister socks, which I usually give to, hello, my sisters or my friends. They're almost always gifted to women because women rule, okay? So those are the knitting current projects that I have. I don't really know what I'm going to cast on next. I've got a couple different things like in the works, but I don't have the time or the brain power to consider it. So down the road, hopefully I'll be casting on another garment pretty soon. I have like a long list of patterns that I want to start working on, and I've got the yarn, so need to get to it soon. As far as sewing goes though, which is a little bit more of my bigger concern, I have successfully written down like my sewing list. Like I have to get these projects done. I've been holding on to all of these items. Like stop just dragging my feet. Let's get to sewing. So like this little tiny knitting bag with Budetama on it is gonna be knit up. I can like knit up. It's gonna be sewn in like an hour. I just have to find the time to do it. But what I am working on right now, and what I just cut out yesterday, is the Elizabeth Shannon apron. This was totally inspired by Fat Squirrel Knits, because she did a video on her making it, and I was just like, that looks so cute, and I love it. So I cut out all the pattern pieces out. So this is just the first one. I am doing the tunic length. And this is fabric that I got from the thrift store, and it's just an old curtain. I was like, okay, for $1, I'll take that, and I'll use it as like a test piece, test it out, sew it together, make sure I know all the problems I'm gonna face, how to fix them, and then go use my expensive linen that I bought. So, plus she talks about that in the beginning of the pattern, like, make sure you use something that you don't really care about when you first sew it, just in case you make a mistake, and that way you don't have to feel bad about wasting fabric or anything like that. So, shop your local thrift stores, people. It's great. And that's really all I have to say about it. I just cut it out. I don't know anything more than that. So, fingers crossed. Again, when I have time, that's when I'll sew. But there's no time right now. Although, no, I have plenty of time next week. I get a pretty good amount of time off. So, that's super good. Alrighty. And that's all I have for current projects that I'm working on. Let's see what else I have to talk about. Is a new little section. I'm calling it FOM because it stands for frogged items, items that are on hold, and items that are giant fat mistakes. Let's get into it. It's gonna be super fun. So my first one, I can talk about the frogged item. Let's go in order. So the first one is my frogged item. It's actually in the trash because I hated it that much. I was requested to make a pair of Tinkerbell slippers for my niece, and I attempted, and it was terrible, and I hated all of it, and I threw it out. I was just I'm so annoyed by it, and I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing these. And I will regretfully go to my mother-in-law and be like, hey, I'm sorry. It's just not something I'm capable of doing right now. There are no patterns that I know of. I scoured Ravelry for like little Tinkerbell slippers for a young girl. There was nothing there. So just go buy some. That's I don't have any interest in making them anyways. This is me being truthful. I'm so sorry. So a huge frogged, I guess you couldn't really even call it frogged. It lands a little bit more towards mistake, because I didn't even frog it. I just threw it out. I was so mad at it. I'm like, I can't have this in my room. It stresses me out. Like it makes me want to cry every time I look at it, and I don't hold on to projects like that. And it's just cheap yarn. It was just cheap acrylic yarn. I don't need it. And it's all like cut up into little bits, so it wasn't really worth like saving and giving to somebody else. So it was it's just garbage. It's just garbage. So I saved the nice white skein that I was going to use. This stuff. I was going to use this as the pom-pom, but little did I know that it's all these little tiny fibers. So when you cut that, it just sheds everywhere. So it is not pom-pom material. Super soft, super lovely, and it'll probably make like a great little baby gift or something. So I'm gonna hold on to this. It's lovely yarn. But the other stuff, gone. It's over, it's dead. Alrighty. Next, we'll move on to my project that is on hold. So, last week I talked about starting the Night Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry. This is how far I got. Oh, not the cowl. I'm doing the shawl. The night shift shawl. So, yeah, I got about 2 inches. Look at me. I'm amazing. What I quickly learned is that this yarn that I have, which is just an acrylic yarn, it is way too thick for what the pattern has written for needles and gauge. So I'm debating on what I want to do with it. I think for sure I'm just gonna up my needle size. But I also, this is like huge chunky balls of yarn. Like this is so much yardage that I'm considering just turning it into a blanket and just like following the mosaic stitch pattern, and keeping with like the I-cord edging, but just making it into a blanket. But I don't know if I want to keep with the shape of the shawl, or if I just want to do a square. So either one could be interesting. I might just go ahead and do the shawl pattern, but it's gonna be, I'm thinking like 10s, maybe even size 13 needles for this, because with the small needles it's just so tight, it hurts my hands so much to knit with it. So it takes me a really long time to just do one row on like 20 stitches. That's not fun. So we're gonna get back to that when I have the chance and the opportunity, which will probably be next week, and then hopefully with it being on bigger needles, I'll just make a lot more progress faster, and it's going to be, you know, I want this to be a fun project, not an annoying project, because this isn't like, this isn't yarn that I'm like, wow, I love this, it's amazing, it's going to be like this timeless piece that I want to keep forever. I'm like, no, I want this to be an item that I can use and that I want to use. So I'm going to make sure I spend time thinking about it and making a project and investing my time into a project that I will like in the end. So not everything works out, and that's completely fine. You just step back, you do a little bit of problem solving, and you figure out how you're going to make stuff better. And then you just have problems that are giant mistakes that you're not going to do anything with because you don't know what you're doing in the first place. So there is no problem solving. And that one, my friends, is the skirt that I attempted to make. So this was just a wool wrap skirt that I bought at the thrift store, and I was like, oh, this is super nice. Like, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna remake it into something that I like, because it had like fringe on it and it looked weird and it was really long and super big. So I was like, there's tons of fabric, and I'll just like do that thing that everybody else does, which is like take thrifted clothes and remake them into something beautiful and super wearable. And I got this hot mess. So first of all, my big problem is how chunky the waistline is. So I'd say it sticks off on the side of my waist like a good inch. So the idea was cute, and it definitely could have been accomplished by somebody who's a more experienced sewer. And I attempted to pleat it, I attempted to do all this stuff, and then I ended up going for just a gathered edge, which again just adds bulk. Adds so much bulk that is unneeded. And then my second huge issue, I went and I hemmed it, and the hemming did not work out. For some reason it's very uneven, and I think that's because the edge of the skirt is a little bit flared. So it's totally fine. I just invested too much time into this for it to be very unsuccessful. At least the buttons I bought for it are very cute, but they were super cheap because they're just plastic. So that's a good thing. Let's see, what else was I going to say about it? So I think my plan for it is right now to just put it away, because this fabric, it's still a good amount of fabric, and I still like this. So, it might make like a cute pair of shorts, who knows. I think what I might actually end up using it for is this wool to line mittens. Could be really cute. I don't know. I'll find a use for it, and if I don't, I'll just give it to the thrift store. There's no loss in it. It was an experience, and I learned that if I'm making clothes, I'm using a pattern. 100%. I am following someone else's instructions till I know what I'm doing. So yeah, that's frogs, mistakes, lessons learned, all that good stuff. So please share with me your giant failed mistakes that you have had, especially with sewing, because I'm always like, I know how to do this, and then I'm terrible at it, and it's great, and I love to watch myself fail. But at least you learn, and you get better as time goes on. So that's that little bit. Next on my list, I have acquisitions. So I just like to share like new things that I've gotten, especially if it's yarn, because then you guys are actually interested in maybe what I'm purchasing or things that I'm trying out for the first time. And then you can kind of get an idea like, maybe I don't want to buy that because she said this, or maybe I don't want to buy that because she really likes it and I don't like this girl, so I'm not buying anything she wants. But also, it's just because I'm excited and I would like to share stuff with you. So I'll talk about stuff that I got from North Carolina, because I did do, like I said, a tiny bit of yarn shopping. I think I only went to 3 yarn stores. I went to the yarn store in downtown Asheville, I can't remember the name of the street that it was on, but it's like the only store in downtown. It's really close to the Urban Outfitters. It's like just like up the hill to the left. And that was decent. It wasn't very welcoming. It was kind of weird. Like when you walk in, you just felt like you were intruding. You didn't feel like you were really at home anywhere. And that's always a little bit hard because when I walk into a local yarn store, I'm like, I want to support this business and I want to purchase something from you. Like, that's my intention. I'm like, I want you to be able to keep going. And that one, I was just like, not really interested. The one thing they had going for them that was so cool, and it was great for my inner nerd, they had this little display that was set up. I'll insert some pictures here. They had this little display of the police box from Doctor Who that was knitted. It was super cute. So the telephone box, and then they had this whole array of sock yarn that was specifically dyed for each doctor. So you could like get a skein of sock yarn that was customized to each doctor. Super fun. I thought that was a really creative idea, and they had like a little picture of each doctor that you were getting. But the one for David Tennant wasn't very attractive, so I was like, nah, because, yeah, he's my doctor, by the way. I'm just going to say, okay? So, him and Donna, 100%, if we're going to state anything. Let's see. So, yeah, that was an interesting experience to go in there. And then most of the yarn, I didn't really know, like, who it was by or anything. And I felt kind of bad, like, spending a lot of time there because I was with everyone in my family was there. So I was, like, dragging my family into the yarn store. And I'm like, sit down, everybody. I'm just going to be a minute and try to go really fast. But, yeah, they didn't really have anything that interested me other than the Doctor Who yarn. But then once I, like, picked it up and looked at it, I wasn't blown away by it, so I didn't get any. But if that is your thing, go check it out. It was really cool. So really creative, really creative. The next store that I went into was the Black Mountain Yarn Shop. So this is in Black Mountain, which is where my brother actually lives in Black Mountain, which is about 20 minutes outside of Asheville. And that is where they built their house, and the little downtown is super cute. Anyways, I walk into Black Mountain Yarn Shop, and completely different atmosphere. It was just friendly, it was bubbly, it was lively, it was light, like there was light. The other place didn't really have any light, it was kind of dark. But it was light, it was friendly, it was just very welcoming. I didn't feel bad about asking a question, like going up to them. I was like, oh, hey, like I want to know what yarn you have that's local or like locally dyed and stuff like that. And the girl walked me around the store and showed me some stuff, and that was really kind of her. And then they just had really great samples. They are very hip to what's going on in the knitting world. They had like Andrea Mowry sweaters and shawls as example pieces, which were very beautiful. And that's just always super nice to see because those are patterns that I want to knit. And it's just always really nice to be able to see it as a finished object and like touch it and hold it and feel it in your own hands, because it gives you good ideas of how you're going to create it and what you might do differently. And then, straight off the bat, as soon as you walk in, they had a whole display of Labienne Ame. I think they pronounce it Ame instead of Amy. But yeah, and that was just beautiful. I like died a little bit. I was like, oh, it was the first time in my life I'm seeing this like face to face, and I get to touch it, and it's gorgeous. So I got a skein. I had to. It's the once in a lifetime experience, right? This is hand dyed in Paris, and it's gorgeous. I got a heavier weight. I did not get a fingering, so I got, I think this is worsted, superwash merino. It's Aran weight. 181 yards. So I landed on the speckles. There was a second skein of this beautiful like blue, like this. You know, I can't help myself. I love that stuff. And it went really well with this color. And I was like, that would be so fun. But once I got to the register, I was like, I can't do that. So I just opted for this one. I decided to go with speckles because that's like her signature, is that she started this speckled trend of yarn. But this is gorgeous, and I'm going to keep it like this for as long as I can. I think my plan is to possibly use it in partnership with this other pink that I have. This is, I forget the name of that company. This is another like higher brand yarn, but they could end up going very well together, so we'll see. I might also just like hold this like I hold my spin cycle and just like, I'm probably never going to buy more of you ever again, so I'll just hold on to you forever until I become really rich someday. So, hobbies, man, am I right? Okay, what else I got there? I ended up getting a locally dyed yarn. So I just think that rather than spending my money on the La Bienne, which would have been really special, I also really wanted to get something local to the place. That way it's just kind of like a little memory of the trip, which is fun. So I got something from a place called Swamp Bunny Fiber and Goods, and it is dyed in Asheville, North Carolina. I actually have not researched this company at all, which I probably should. But I went for, again, a purpley pink speckles. And I just kind of, she had a lot of really beautiful yarn, but I knew I was only going to get one skein, so I wanted it to work with something that I have. And I have a lot of this single 5-fingering weight yarn. And I think, I actually haven't looked yet to see, so I'm looking now. I think I'm going to use it with these two yarns. Possibly. We'll see. Once I skein it, wind it up, I can get a better idea of how it's gonna look. But it might help like break up this neon color a little bit. We'll find out. Maybe I'll just use it all by itself. So that's it. Other acquisitions. What else have I gotten? Well, the big reason I didn't go like ham on yarn is I already spent quite a little bit of money on investing in some fabric. I went to Joann Fabrics with the idea of just purchasing stuff for all the patterns that I want to make. And I went in there and I bought linen, and that's what I bought. I bought a lot of linen. So the plan is to make a couple patterns on my list. I have enough linen to last me a really long time, so I don't think I'm gonna have to like go purchase more. And it's really great, versatile colors. I have like a dark blue, and then I have a nice like light blue with some pinstripes, so it's gonna be really cute. And I'm very excited to use it. It's gonna be great for this coming like lighter weather, and then most of the stuff that I'm going to make is going to be able to be layered on top of things for winter wear. And I'm excited for it. I'm excited to have like a little bit of change in my wardrobe towards more handmade stuff. I'd show it to you, but it's all hanging up in the closet, so I'm not getting that out. It's also like yards of fabric. So that's all I've purchased recently. Oh wait, no. I did buy an art print. So yes, so I did actually purchase an art print, and I would like to share that with you. So this is by one of my favorite artists. I found her on Instagram, I believe. Her name is Lily Seika Jones. But her company is known as Rivulet Paper Shop. So she does a lot of amazing artwork. So let me show you her business card, because that is shows a little bit of art that is a little bit better. There's a reason why I got this piece. But but she's really detailed, super intense artwork. Hi. Focus. You can kind of see it. Look her up on Instagram. I'll have her information below. I've been obsessed with her for a very long time. Oh, this is a sticker. I thought this was her business card. That's awesome. Anyways, she posted this artwork a couple months ago. This is Excalibur and the Lady of the Lake, which is one of like my all-time favorite King Arthur things, which is the Lady of the Lake and Excalibur. And I like screamed when I saw it because she does a lot of like Lord of the Rings artwork. She's done Indiana Jones and Star Wars, and she does a lot of really cool, beautiful artwork. And she loves fantasy, and she really loves fairy tales. And that's why this one, which is Briarwood, which is inspired by Sleeping Beauty, which is very beautiful. So it's all just magical and wonderful, and this one just spoke to me, and I had to have it. I heavily considered buying the original. I was just like, I need that. But then she finally had them for sale as 5x7 prints, and so I went and got it on her Etsy shop. I'm going to frame it, and I'm going to hang it on my wall. That's the plan. So I've been wanting to do my own painting of Excalibur for a while. I actually have a list of like famous swords that I would like to paint along with their corresponding flowers that like relate to the story that they come from. So I only have 2 on my list right now, but more are to come. I just kind of have to spend some time doing sketches and learning how to draw certain things to get the vision that I want. But I have other projects that I'm working on as far as my artwork goes. So I'll actually go ahead and start talking about that. It's behind me. I mentioned that I was working on these pieces in the last podcast, and so I finished my first one. It doesn't really have a name. I guess it's just called Summer. So it's supposed to be like the reflections of water in a pool. And I have an idea to do 4 pieces of these, and they all correspond to a season. So we have spring, summer, fall, and winter. And they kind of have a poem that goes with them, or like a little saying. We'll see. Again, it's just like I kind of have to think about it. They really evoke in me a specific memory, or a memory of a time. Summer has always been about swimming. I love to swim, so it's just very important to me. And like when I'm away from home, these memories are very precious to me. So when I lived in Japan, like the thought of like swimming in a pool with my family or having that experience with friends was something I held very near and dear. So I'm like feeling all weird because I'm talking about stuff. Sorry. But yeah, I don't really think there's much more about that. So it's just that this one I guess doesn't have a very super specific memory in my brain. It's more just like that feeling of like a hot summer day and going up the road to my friend's pond and swimming in their pond or my cousin's pool. And that was just kind of something always available to us, or even just going to the Y with my mom. But even a little bit in Okinawa when I used to swim every day at the pool down the street, and it was just always like this bright sunlight hits the water and you just get these beautiful reflections. So I like this piece. I really enjoyed making it. It was super fun, and it was nice to just take time on it. So that's the point of all of these, is intention and really working hard on it, not just like slapping at a piece. So I'm working on the next one. I sketched out all of my papers. I just have to do a couple more like test paints to make sure I get the right colors and everything like that. So that's just watercolor. That's all it is. So, but again, it mostly all just comes down to time. I don't have a lot of time to work on stuff. But that's also fine because I really enjoy my jobs. So I'm okay with that. So the next piece probably will be another month or so before it gets finished. I want to make sure that it's the right way and that I really like it. And now we're down to like the last thing, which is awesome. I love it because this is almost an hour now. So hopefully I can keep it at like 50, 55. Let's go. So the last little bit is things that I've really been enjoying, and I just want to share them with you. I shared a couple last time. This time, they're not videos. Yay! So I have been listening to a lot of the podcast called Ologies. It is hosted by Alli and you can find it on iTunes or Google Play or podcasts, or you can find it anywhere where podcasts are found. It's a relatively popular podcast, which is great. So it is just a girl or a lady who sits down and interviews various scientists on various scientific topics. So it ranges from oceans to sleep to mixology to ants to turtles. One on ancient Egypt I listened to, one on marriage, personalities, so many great things. They're all really fun to listen to. You always learn something. I love it. It's my go-to podcast now. I am I forget the word when you're only into one thing, or like there's a word for it. But yeah, so I always listen to just like one podcast at a time. I don't bounce back and forth to different podcasts. So I am 100% sucked into Ologies, and I'll probably listen to every single episode that she has. That's usually how it works. Unless it's something that makes me uncomfortable. So, like there's one about the apocalypse. I probably won't listen to that. That's not very good for my mental health. So, that's okay. The other thing that I showed a little bit of a little clip of it in the beginning of this video. It's the opening clip of me flipping through a book. It is called The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. So my sister-in-law introduced me to this book, and she was like, how have you never heard of this before? But all it is a simple nature journal written by Edith Holden, and it was over the course of a year, and she spent the whole year just doing these incredible watercolors and paintings of all the nature that she saw, and she documents it all. It's like the ultimate bullet journal, except for it's not about doing tasks, it's just about art and nature, and there's so much poetry that she copies down. It's really beautiful. So I suggest, if you can find it at your local library, or if you're able to purchase it, take a look at it. It's really, really a lovely book. So it's on my list to get. So that was wonderful, and that was just like on the table, and I would just look at it while I was there and just soak up all the sunshine and all the nature and be inspired and read some poetry. It was great. And she kept it a secret. Nobody found this book until she had passed away, and they were like, and she was an illustrator, she was an artist, so like that was her profession back in the 1890s or something, or early 1900s. I think it was early 1900s. So give it a look. I highly suggest it. And then the other thing to talk about is a series of books that I just finished. Some of you might know them. It's the Grisha verse trilogy, written by Leigh Bardugo. I think that's her name. I get it confused with some other author all the time. So I decided to read them. It's Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and then The Ruin and the Rising. And it's about some girl who thinks she's a skinny little nothing and nobody cares about her, and then she gets this magical power, and she's like, oh, I have to like save the world, but I don't think I can do it. Oh my god, this is horrible. And the guy that she loves doesn't think she's pretty, and so she's like doesn't know what to do, but like the really hot guy that's into her, she's like, ew, gross, you're a monster and you like to kill people, and she just like doesn't have empathy for it. Yeah, I read it for the Darkling, okay, shame me. It was terrible. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I also hated it at the same time. I don't know how that works. I was very disappointed. I was disappointed. The way the way everyone talks about those books and how amazing they are and they're so good and you should totally read them. I was very disappointed with them. They're very, the plot's just not there. There's not really good character development. Everybody just kind of floats around and hops around. And there was a lot of potential for this to be a great book series. Her number one failing as an author was to write it from first person. She started it. The books all start being from, like, not first perspective, not somebody's first perspective, not I forget the name. It's like omniscient or something like that, where it's somebody else's perspective outside of the picture, the, like, godly picture. And strong writing, beautiful, interesting, draws you in, and then it immediately switches to a whiny like 18-year-old or 16-year-old going like, I can't do anything, I'm just terrible at life. And you're like, I don't feel bad for you. I just don't feel bad for you, okay? But the second book was great because Nikolai shows up and you're like, you're perfect and wonderful, and this whole book series should just be about you now, so. But that's okay. Like I said, I enjoy hating it. I enjoy reading them. I still think it's, like, fun. So hit me up in the comments. Talk about these books with me. I'd love to discuss because I got feelings. I got feelings about them. Although I mostly forget everything that happened. I just, like, remember the main characters and that's it. And then some stuff goes down and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And now I forgot most of it. But I think I enjoy reading these books because as a kid I was like, I will never read these books because they're terrible. But I got into, like, reading Sarah J. Maas and I was like, these books are great. They're so bad, but I love them. So I don't know. Yeah, I read, like, all of A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read almost all of A Throne of Glass, but I picked up the last book and I was like, oh, this is like 900 pages. No. I love myself too much to put myself through that. I won't even pick it. Like, I just can't do that. Tower of Dawn, that was great. That was a good ending for me. I feel happy. I don't care about what happens to anyone else. But yeah, I enjoy them because I know that there's good books out there. So when I really want something fulfilling and fun to read, I can always read anything by Megan Whalen Turner in her King of Atolia series, which is really fun. I highly suggest. So yeah, it's like TV. You have really good TV shows, and then you have really bad TV shows, and sometimes you just gotta indulge in some, like, Sister Wives or something. I don't watch Sister Wives. That's just something my friends are into. So judge them, not me. Okay? Alright, I think that's it for today. I have to go to work soon. So, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting. I hope that this episode isn't a hot mess. It's going to be long. So sorry. I'm always like, it's going to be 20 minutes. I can sit down and talk about all this stuff. And then I end up having a good time and chatting with you. So, I'll probably see you in another 2 to 4 weeks with a new video, hopefully. Everybody have a great time. Enjoy spring as it's on its way. It's coming slowly but surely. And yeah, comment below, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. Because yeah, I'm on YouTube now. It's a thing. Alrighty. Have a good day. Thank you for watching, for talking, for chatting. Bye.